We'll have to see. It looks like we are jumping into game, so we'll see what they decide to go with. The quality tells us actually not that much.
I think it hints at Aggro Paladin. Like, if anything, like...
A quality?
Well, how often have you seen a quality in Secret Paladin?
It hints against Secret Paladin,
We saw it yesterday at Bowl. We were like, why does he run a quality in Secret Paladin?
Exactly. Why did he run a quality?
Because
that was really
Secret
our big
Paladin
question.
have no shade. They can run anything. I've seen 2 lay-on hands in Secret Paladin. I'm like, you're playing the wrong archetype. I've seen Pyromancer.
Okay.
Dan, they're going to draw all their secrets with that lay-on hands.
Like,
that's going to close the game.
And then they Pyromancer play secrets, and they
That's like
whirlwind.
Mysterious
like,
Challenger number 4 or number 3 and 4, except instead of getting a 6/6 and all the secrets out of your deck, you gain 8 life and get all the secrets into your hand.
Listen, all I'm saying is,
all right, there's an Eldar Peacekeeper.
You have to play around everything.
Yeah. We can calm down a little bit.
But one thing I do want to say is that one card you have to be on the lookout for these days. It's not Public Enemy number 1. I would put him definitely on the kind of like on the up and comers list. You know, he's not quite the highest priority snipe, but is the Keeper of Oldemon. That card's very interesting to watch out for. It's a 4-mana 3/4 that when you play it, it takes any minion and changes stats to a 3/3, whether friendly or enemy. And I think that card has a lot of very cool synergies and potential to make Paladin even stronger in the mid game.
You can turn one of your 1/1s into a 3/3 to trade up in the early game against aggressive decks. You can, turn that Alex Straza into a 3/3.
I mean, it kills a lot of souls of cards.
I saw Nyria actually playing with that card, and the very first time he played it on an Ancient of War.
Sick.
Because very first Keeper of Oldemon.
And he's like, taunt?
He's like, your 5/10 now becomes a 3/3 right at Iron for I was like, you just Tink Mastered his... Like old Tink Mastered his Ancient
Tink Master.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the first time it happened to me was on Ysera, which definitely just did not look right. But it didn't matter because Ysera still drew cards.
Yeah.
Quickly. He just didn't have a way to kill it. He's like, it's
a
3/3.
What's funny is I dreamed it, and then he played on it again. We were in a top deck scenario. So I dreamed his Oldemon. He did it against my Ysera. It was really funny. Good stuff.
Brandeis been debating about this turn 2 for a while. I mean, Shielded Minibot's certainly a great presence, but as you were talking about, sometimes getting sticky minions on the board isn't what you need. You just need to have the risk of a minion that can die versus extra damage. Right. And against Druid in particular, I think this is the right situation to be calling it for, because if they turn to Wild Growth, you do get the extra damage. Yeah. If they turn to Wrath, they didn't cast Wild Growth.
Yeah, it makes that decision tough, because if you play Shielded Minibot, it's almost always Wild Growth.
Well, I think the biggest thing influencing them would probably be the Darnassus Aspirant. If they played the Shielded Minibot and they play Aspirant, they're like, well,
now what?
They actually did just Wild Growth in that scenario.
That's true too.
I mean, it's really tough to answer that. And so I think this is just the middle of the road of a lot of things. I think the one thing that they were also considering too is, what if this is like a really aggressive Druid and they want to start doing some stupid stuff of putting the Druid the Saber in stealth mode and getting the Juggler out earlier is even stronger.
Yeah, they have to respect the muster for battle too.
They said, should we
turn.
play Knife Juggler? They shook the Magic 8 Ball and said all signs point to yes.
Yes. In this case, 2 Jugglers is very threatening.
And look at Laval's hand. If you choose to Wrath, you're going to have to coin the Shade. Even if you coin the Shade, they still could use the other Knife Juggler to take it out. If you swipe, this is like a miserable swipe turn. They're kind of just forced to Wrath here. And looking at the rest of their hand, I mean, is there a better turn to play Shade?
There will be.
And
it's just how much of an impact is it going to have when you play it later?
Right, exactly. Like, what's the best turn for it? Because, I mean, Shade is actually one of the harder minions in the game to play off curve, because you have to have so much foresight about what happens if you play it next turn, what happens if you play it turn after that. Like, does it make that impact? It's a question that TJ was just asking. In general, the earlier the better, but there's a 25% chance. If your opponent has a 2-drop, they have a 25% chance to just kill your Shade.
Yeah, I'm not really loving it that much. They actually draw with the Wrath.
I don't mind
because they felt like they just didn't have any good options, because the only option was to coin Shade or just 0 power anyways.
And they get that Mounted Raptor too, so seems to be a card that's making a lot of appearances in all types of Druids.
Now, if that Shade was a Mounted Raptor, which is already an interesting choice, I think they're splitting 1-1 maybe.
I'd say so. It seems reasonable.
Do you think you would have played Mounted Raptor there after your Wrath.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, just the fact that it's provided you with 2 minions, back to back on itself. The single investment gets you a lot of power in that situation. But having to forego it, not have a Shade, here's the other risk too. Now do you just fall too far behind on board development?
Yeah,
the swipe here looks great, especially because you have the Aspirant afterwards. But still a tough spot.
Well, the Aspirant, if it lives, gives you 7 mana the following turn, with Ancient of Lore waiting on the horizon. But Paladin has such an amazing tempo on their side that you're spending almost your entire turn removing, and they get to go development, and they have really good spot removal, and even Consecration, pretty good against all those low health minions that flood the board. So I think the Paladin is still in a dominant spot here for Brandeis.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. This is very uncomfortable ball. They're going to go with Force Nature, and this is something that we actually didn't touch on, but I wanted to go into is the merits of using it. It's just to clear 2 minions.
It's
a large mana
It's
investment.
marginally better, but the reason why is because instead of leaving a 2/2, you leave a 1/1, but that 1/1 still might just have Quartermaster, and you might be back at square one.
Or even just Blessing of Kings.
Yeah, even just Blessing of Kings. It's like it's a 1 health, it's a 1 attack difference for a 1 mana difference, and in this case, the 1 mana might be really big. Depends, because you also would have been able to develop the Darnassus Aspirant, like you said, and that gives you more flexibility. So actually, if you think about it, it might be even 2 mana difference.
Yeah, it's a tough call. Laval's been. I feel like Laval's been faced with so many tough decisions this game, or this series rather.
Even this game, I'd say.
Yeah,
they've only had 3 turns, and they've already been faced with some tough decisions. So,
and usually the player with the tough decisions is the one who's behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the past, Mid-Range Druid was considered one of those decks that sort of just, you always expected what it was going to do. It sort of just played itself in a lot of scenarios, but Darnassus Aspirant changed a lot of that.
Is there any debate to playing Shredder there? I think the Loatheb on curve is just stronger.
I definitely think there are merits to the Shredder, but I agree with you. I think the Loatheb's going to help fight for the board better. It does play on curve a little bit better. Now you have the option to Shredder and Hero Power or to Sylvanas next turn. It goes up very well versus an Emperor Thorson versus Druid of the Claw, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think specifically, just like you said, whenever the following threats are going to come out, you can use Peacekeeper and then keep your board and develop it.
Double swipe, both at reduced cost, though. Could help Laval come back in the game. Follow that up with an Ancient of Lore. All of a sudden, they have card advantage, and the board's in a pretty even state.
That is a comeback card.
Yeah. Yeah, game not quite over just yet. I mean, again, Brandeis does have a big lead on damage here, but, mid-range Paladins, they're not going to have the biggest burst in the world. You look at Secret Paladin, they have Blessing of Kings. Sometimes they have True Silver Champion in there.
Seal of Champions.
They have the great swing turn with Mysterious Challenger. They don't really have a lot of reach afterwards. It's basically like they need to get an overwhelming position and just leverage it.
Yeah.
If Laval can fight back from this position, I mean, the full recovery is very much on their side. It's the only thing they really have to check is Dr. Boom and Tyrion after that.
The turn 8 True Silver Champion Consecrate burst.
That extra 6 is going to get
Never underestimate it.
It's true. I mean, it's one of those things where it's a surprising amount of damage.
Speaking of Dr. Boom, but is this enough on this board?
You're at 17 health. If you just play Dr. Boom, you take 10 damage next turn.
10 is a lot.
10 with the upside of upwards to 14 if you have the Quartermaster.
I think you go swipe, and I think you play with your discounted 3 drops. Are you going to get a better turn for these? But then you're playing right into Consecrate.
Also true.
Gosh, Laval.
You can find a middle ground and play Darnassus Aspirant, make the Consecration a little bit awkward in Mounted Raptor. But then again, like we talked about earlier, that Shade is really awkward to play later in the game, especially off curve, because turn you play it, it's vulnerable to Consecration, and that's a lot of tempo loss.
Yeah. In this scenario, man, having 2 mana Raptors would have been much better.
Yeah. I think this is the play. Like the Darnassus Aspirant certainly has some merit to it, but even if your opponent consecrates on a turn like this, it means they're not playing Dr. Boom. It means they're not playing a piloted Shredder. True Silver Champion's not coming down. I mean, this is largely a disruption style of effect too. You're really forcing your opponent's hand. Like, if Brandeis has a consecration right here, they have to look at it and go, are we ever getting more value than this turn with it?
It's hard to say. I mean, I actually was thinking about just playing Sylvanas, like the merits of playing Sylvanas.
Hey, that guy's got to die.
Hello. Savage Roar on that puppy.
Yeah.
We're gonna put Mark and nature on
I
that.
don't know, man. I was kind of feeling Sylvanas might have also been a pretty viable thing there, because I know Brandeis took that turn a little bit faster than they did normally doing all game.
Wow, they're gonna go with lore over Dr. Boom here as well.
Yeah, it seems a little bit interesting because they could have, at least this allows them to hero power down the...
Well, they still can. Or Wrath it. For a
Yeah,
draw.
but if they play Dr. Boom, they still could play Darnassus Aspirant and develop that as well.
Yeah, I mean, this turn was played very quickly on a turn where this certainly merited a lot more thought than I think was put into this.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, kind of looking at the after effect, the Ancient Allure probably is pretty equal with the Dr. Boom.
Uh-huh.
But you know, this is the kind of turn that can be the difference between winning and losing a game. So this is the one you really have to consider the most. Like, how big of a difference does it make? To me, the Ancient Allure really gives a big nod to Big Game Hunter.
Yeah, try not to completely lose the board. You still have the boom bots. But this puts Brandeis in an awkward situation. Now if they play Sylvanas, it's an easy trade for Laval to just kill that off, take it out of the way, and then just develop their own Dr. Boom. So they have to go for an alternative line of play and just go with the Piloted Shredder.
Yeah, and I think this really gives Laval a very clear image that Tyrion is not in Brandeis' hand.
Uh-huh.
And that information's super important right now. And they even draw the Keeper of the Grove to go with it. Like, they know that if they get past these couple of turns, the game is in their hands. They're going to have everything taken care of.
They're sitting pretty.
Yeah, I'm trying to evaluate what's the best scenario here, but I still think Dr. Boom is by far their best option.
Yeah, I think you probably take a gander with Wrath first. See what comes out of the Pilot
Yeah,
Shredder.
I guess Mana Wraith is much less worrying than Doomsayer.
Yeah, because you can easily play around the Mana Wraith. The Doomsayer,
Right.
though, you know, it's going to require some kind of attention.
Well, you can't really do anything other than silencing it. All right. So that's a Bluegill Warrior just kind of sitting there, very weak. So now you can just play Dr. Boom and hero power that down.
Wrath's going to continue to remind us what the effect does.
Yeah. 3 damage to a minion? Whoa!
To the face. Deal 3. It used to just say deal 3 damage.
Yeah, it was way too... Starfall said that too. Man, that was a good deck.
Wrath the face and draw.
They're even going to use the Innervate to hero power this Bluegill Warrior down. And now the tables have turned drastically. Laval has everything on their side of the board.
Yeah, very true. And this game was looking a lot different 3 turns ago. Brandeis had complete control over the board, and now it's been conceded pretty much to Laval in its entirety. And they just don't have... They have a comeback mechanics with the equality, but nothing to combo with it, like a Consecration or something along those lines.
I was just about to say, they used that Consecration earlier. Are they wishing they had that back at this point? You know, could they have fought that board in a different situation? I mean, Frodan was talking about how powerful Sylvanas looked on that board, and kind of taking a look at what came out of this. I mean, that might have been a better situation, but this is, I mean, that's a hard call to make when you're talking 2 turns in advance and not really having a good read on what your opponent's hand is.
Yeah.
I mean, now you're stuck crossing your fingers. It's like, please don't have Savage Roar.
Please don't have it.
Please don't have anything.
I mean, he's got a lot of damage already. He's got 14. He's got 20 damage. Nope, 24. 24 damage is the max that I count right now. And that's with the upside of Boombots. That's lethal. So, yeah.
I think you run in the Boombot first.
Yeah, kill the 1/1.
See if you can just pick that lethal right away. I mean,
Being very safe.
I mean, they can pretty much say that they don't have Big Game Hunter, or else they would have used it.
yeah.
He really wants to shut down, even using hero power as much as possible. I think now that they kind of understand it's mid-range Paladin, I think they're being very cautious of developing Druid the Claw.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, he could have a quality Consecration or some kind of way to really clear my board. And then this is Laval saying, you know, how do we lose this game from here?
Yeah.
And one of them is overextending into the board.
Well, Brandeis does have 20 points of healing in their hand at the moment.
Yeah.
They also got the word there is no Force Nature Savage Roar at the moment.
Yeah. Well, at least no Savage Roar.
Well, the 2 of them coupled is what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
They don't have full combo in their hand.
Yeah.
I think you got to lay on hands here. I think you have to dig for a way to utilize this equality. If you don't get it in the next couple turns, the game is going to fall out of your hands.
Yeah, it almost doesn't really matter if you have so much heal if the board just keeps hitting you for 16 plus every turn, which is realistically going to be happening in the next on Laval's turn here. They're just going to develop a little bit more.
Yeah, if they're not doing anything to get back on the board, healing is just inconsequential. Just, buys them a little bit of time, but doesn't really do anything in the ways of trying to come back and win the game.
Is Laval just going to pass? Because if they pass, do they? I don't know if they set up lethal still.
Guide my
So he just plays a Darnassus Aspirant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they're putting him at 17 with 10 points of reach in hand. I mean, this is every single turn. Brandeis has to do something about their life total or about the board pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
And this is like when you're in Brandeis' spot and this is happening to you, and you continue to answer things over and over and over again, but you're not really making any headway. What ends up happening is you get back into the same spot, but now you're lacking options. That's what the Lay on Hands really was about. Trying to find the second Consecrate. Maybe if they have a wild Pyromancer in the deck that they could use. They had to do something about this board, and so it required them to forego development to take that risk. Because again, they're just going to get back into this situation over and over again. This is what Druid does. And at this point, I see maybe being able to live for one more turn, but I mean, they need to draw the right card next turn, or this game is going to end.
Might just end already.
Well, we'll see. If they heal bots to 25, I believe he stays alive, at least to what he sees. So heal bot, and I guess you just develop Shredder while you're at it. Shredder's your best chance. Plus, there's always the chance of Doomsayer.
There is.
Emergency Doomsayer.
With every released 2-drop, it gets smaller and smaller.
Pilot trying to drop Doomsayer every single time. Oh, 2 heal bots. All right. Wants to go for more reliable health.
They don't get full value out of it, though, is the thing. And Powder Shredder is such a stronger creature in this situation to fight back on the board.
I think they're looking at quite literally having to draw the right card next turn. I think that's what this play was about.
It's Consecrate or bust?
I think so. And I think any way you slice it, you're pretty much at that stage of the game. It's going to be Consecrate or bust. Because even if you get the Doomsayer out of the Pilot Shredder, it would have to be your opponent killing the Pilot Shredder to give you that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the cards right now, they don't line up for Laval really doing much trading if their opponent had played a Pilot Shredder in this situation. I mean, basically, the only way they're going to lose is to Doomsayer. So, just they have all of the options in the world. They can do basically whatever they wanted to do. I like that Brandeis has gone for this, even though it's such a slim chance. I think this was the way to play the game.
Sorry, just laughing at Boom Bustling one.
That magical and
yeah, magical, wonderful thing. Happy little Boombots. In a very funny scenario, it's like Druid's actually taking a lot of damage, just like trading so much with the minions at 0 power. But it doesn't matter because Paladin can't close that distance. Coghammer.
Could that hold it off from
No,
one
he's
turn?
got Keeper of the Grove too. So Keeper of the Grove.
They can try.
His realistic best chance might be to equality and Coghammer down
I actually think
the Shredder.
I actually think that is the best chance for him to win.
Oh my god.
Which is devastating to think about, but again, they played to the very small chance last turn. If your best chance is a small one, that's what you got to take.
And then I guess you could play equality and then Shredder and then Cockhammer. So that way you can try to see if you can get like some weird something out of it.
They get a Vitality Totem or something.
Yeah, or like, Unstable Ghoul. Because you played equality.
Yeah.
And then,
that's a good point, yeah.
And then a stable Ghoul. Like, all these little fringe scenarios, like, you'll take 2 chances to win the lottery, wouldn't you? If you had 0% chance otherwise?
This is it. Brandeis has got pressure on them once again to
here we go.
That small play.
Into it. Yeah! Go for it. I love it. Now this is Hearthstone.
Yeah, I mean this is honestly quality play. It really is.
Yeah.
And again, you look at it and you go, how much is this?
Oh!
That was not the right one.
Oh man. Well, they're gonna
That's
pay
dead.
the ultimate punish to Keeper of the Grove. They didn't even take a chance of looking at what's behind the Shredder.
The iron price is what they'll pay. Laval
Yeah.
University going to tie this series up at 2 games apiece. First series of the day, and we're going to game number 5.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. And keep in mind, this is the regional championship. It is the playoffs. So there is more on the line in the fact that the winner goes on to the live finals, but